see him.
Okay, meeting is now streaming live, so you can go ahead, Ms. Gale.
All right, this meeting is called to order at 5:02 p.m. on 7/15/21 via Zoom because of our pandemic. Item number, everyone should have received the link sent out by JACINTHA, and we will be following that agenda. First item is introductions. Everyone would tell us who they are so we can verify that you can hear us and we can hear you. I'll begin. I'm Gay Brunson. I'm committee chair. I represent the administrative division.
So should I go next?
Go ahead.
Please.
Sure.
I'm Angela Foley, and I have the educator position for what is it? College, university educator. It's an educator position.
Right.
Okay.
I'm Patsy Jarrow, and I'm with the board.
Larry Broussard, and I'm specialist position.
Michelle Warner, think I'm the manager's position.
Okay.
Yolanda Beanie, the MLS position.
Yolanda,
I'm Ashley Ware. I represent the lab assistant position.
And this is Morteza Waziri. I represent the supervisory position.
Okay.
Who is it?
Jessica Lassiter, and I'm on the board in the educator position.
Okay.
We have two educators.
Yes.
We're just making introductions. Dr. Bridges.
Who is the manager?
And Dr. Bridges, physician.
I saw Shannon earlier.
Joni lost her link. We're JACINTHA sending her a copy of the link right now. She should be coming on in just a few minutes.
All right, LaKenya, if you want to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I was letting the board members go first, but I am LaKenya Collins. I'm the new CFO at the board, and it's a pleasure to meet with all of you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Patricia Wilton. I'm executive counsel to the board. And Dr. Collada, I guess we'll just have this substitute for a roll call if you're taking notes.
Okay, and then Beverly Dr. Ogden just signed on. Dr. Ogden?
Yes, I'm Beverly Ogden. I'm representing the Louisiana Pathology Society.
Okay, so you definitely got a quorum, Ms. Gay. You can proceed on.
All righty. Do we have any visitors to announce? Do we have?
Not at this time.
Great. All righty. Public comments for this meeting are to be made in email form. They are to be made to public comment at lsbme.la.gov. And there will be multiple opportunities through our meeting for people to make public comment. The first item on our agenda to address now is approval of the minutes from the April 1st, 2021 meeting.
Excuse me, Gay.
Yeah.
According to
are there any items to add?
Yes,
are there any items to add to our agenda? Yes.
We need to add the I forgot what we needed to add. We're going to do that in the budget.
It's the CLPC contractor information you need to add.
Yeah, well, they said that we could add that under the CLPC budget, which is where we talked
or
about
that
it
it's
last
covered.
time. But we can add it.
You really should add that to the public agenda to discuss if it's a discussion of the contract.
Okay. So we
Right.
need to, Gay.
We have to have a motion to add to the agenda. There can't be any discussion, and it has to be a unanimous vote. So do we have a motion to add the CLPC contract to the agenda?
Aye.
Morteza made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ashley Ware.
Michelle Warner.
Is that Michelle?
Oh, Michelle Warner.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Carries unanimously. I will add that to the agenda. I put it at the bottom, but if it comes up right after we talk about the budget, does it have, Dr. Van, does that have to be a specific spot?
No, you can add it whatever you want. You just put it anywhere you want.
Okay, we're gonna bring it up right after the budget then.
Well,
All right, are there any more items to add to the agenda?
I didn't know that.
No, but there was a correction. On the
All right, so now we're gonna move to the minutes review. Everyone should have had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting. I have one correction. On number 4, under appointments, it says Gay will contact committee members about repeated non-attendance. I don't think that was the intent of our discussion, that it was gonna happen right this second. But it was that the people that had repeated non-attendance would be contacted.
Yes.
And who is gonna contact, so what should it say? Tell me what it should say.
I would say that Gay will contact committee members about repeated non-attendance as necessary.
Okay, Gay will contact committee members about repeated non-attendance. Okay, as necessary.
As necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't that that was not a task that I was gonna have performed by this point.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, I'll make that correction.
Okay.
Or does Jacinta make that? I don't know. Is that do I do that?
You probably have to.
Yes, you're gonna continue to do the minutes, so you just make the corrections and send me whatever needs to be corrected.
Okay.
There was another correction to the minutes, and that was when it went into the executive session. That were typed by the board. I don't know where they are. I can't see them. And it said it had people that were motioning that are not on our committee.
If you go to the session, to the part where it says we went into executive session.
Yes. I don't know where it is.
So you pulled them up. Okay,
Yes.
there they are. All right, so upon motion of Mike Nolan, duly seconded. I don't know where that came from. That wasn't in my minutes.
Those people are not on our committee. Go down. Okay, right there at the top.
All right, my copy.
Mike Nolan. We don't have that person. We don't have Brett Stafford. We don't have Raymond
But
Passant.
that whole paragraph is wrong.
Yes.
Because right up under the title of executive session, it gives us Jessica and Dr. Ogden, which is appropriate.
Yes.
So can you go up or down? Yeah, right. So
that whole paragraph needs to be striked.
These are the executive minutes. They should be discussed in the executive session.
Okay. All right, well, we'll hold those.
Well,
Yeah.
well, they're
When
part
do
of
we
the
vote
minutes.
on the minutes?
Yeah, but the executive minutes and the discussion on them should be in the executive session. If you're going to correct them, you have to correct them in executive session. Because there are issues that may come up that the public should not be aware of.
Okay. It's just the motion to
It's
go in.
just the
there.
motion. It's not any of the.
All right.
But whatever.
Okay. Whatever you want to do. If you're just correcting the motion. But
yes.
Just the motion.
Just the motion.
We're striking a paragraph. The motion is correct, but there's an additional paragraph in there that does not apply to our committee.
It needs to be
Yeah,
deleted.
they weren't in my minutes.
Okay.
All right, are there any other changes?
My name is not listed as being present when I was there.
Oh, you
It's
were there.
Jessica Lassiter.
Where, you mean in the very beginning where people in attendance?
Yes, ma'am. I
Yeah.
don't think it's listed, is it?
Well, if it's
No.
not, that was a
No.
terrible oversight. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right.
You listed in other places, you moved and seconded all over the place. So we knew you
Yeah.
were there.
Yeah, just so we need to add Jessica's name to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other changes?
back in, I would like to be on camera. Is there how to do that? I don't know why it didn't let me do that.
I have no idea, baby.
Okay,
Okay, so back chatter is gonna be a bit of a problem.
yeah, I can't tell if somebody's talking to me. All right, if there are, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended and second?
I motion
motion.
to accept the minutes as amended.
So motion by Yolanda and second,
I second.
Ashley second. So motion
Yes,
by Yolanda, Ashley second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same. Motion carried. All right, next on our agenda is to update contact information. And with each topic, there is the opportunity for public comment to be made in written form at public comments at lsbme.la.gov.
I've received.
Did everyone?
I've received
Go ahead, Pat.
updates for several people. If you haven't sent an update to me, even if it's the same, just let me know that. So we'll have a current phone list and email list for everybody.
Okay. And I know everybody has Patsy's email. So if y'all would do that by email, try to get that done by the end of next week, please. All righty. The next topic is advisory committee appointments, open positions, and repeat non-attendance.
I have checked with Roz Moore is the governor's appointee that handles all of the appointments to the governor's advisory committees and all the other committees. And I had her send a list of the positions and when they expire. And we have a lot of positions that need to expire. I'll also ask her, are the people eligible for reappointment? And almost all of them are. So if y'all are willing to get reappointed, I would like to know. And if you don't want to be reappointed, I'd like to know that as well.
Do people know who needs to be reappointed?
I can send out an email to you if you're up for reappointment. And you can let me know if you're interested in continuing or not. Okay. I like the group we have because y'all are great attenders. I'm not having quorum problems with these people. So it's really a pleasure. Thank you so much for that.
What about expired?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
we have a couple of public comments I'll read into the record at this time.
Okay.
And just so you'll know, I just want to give them to everybody. Miss Tammy Shalou says that she does not see the proposed rules submitted by the Rules Revision Task Force. We cannot make a public comment regarding the rules if we cannot see the proposed rules. Next would be from Gary Koch. And Gary says, public comment. Agenda item number 4, I have concerns about not being able to see the proposed rules revisions and hope to be able to publicly comment if needed once I have a chance to review. I implore the committee to take time to walk through the revisions and make all attempts to engage with the committee and public to ensure regulations are fully vetted before taking any action. And Mark Birnbaum said he couldn't find a YouTube posting on the website. We have corrected that and we have sent him an email. And
Tell them to
Joanne-
scroll down.
And
They're not
Joanne
scrolling
Bricado, Joanne Bricado says that how do we get to the live stream? Thanks. And we sent that to her as well.
All right.
They haven't scrolled down far enough
To see all the
to
rules.
see all the rules.
It was posted.
It's on the LSBME website. under agenda. And if you go
Right,
past
just have to
agenda,
Keep going down.
if you go past agenda, it shows all the rules with the original stating and then the edits on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
Can
That's
somebody
not, that's not public record. They're gonna be able to see the rules once we pull it up on the screen. So y'all haven't gotten to that agenda item yet, which is the reason why they can't see the
Oh,
revisions. to the-
okay, great.
When they get to the web,
Oh,
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. All right, so thank you for your comments. The rules will be posted on the live stream when we get to that section. No mistake.
That's not public record. They're gonna be able to see the rules once we pull it up on the screen. So y'all haven't gotten to that agenda item yet, which is the reason why they can't see the revisions.
Okay, great.
when they get to the web,
But when we get, they will be able to see it, correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what will be posted on the live stream when we get to that section. No mistake.
Somebody has the live stream up and we're getting an echo through your audio.
So y'all haven't gotten to that agenda item yet, which is the reason why they can't see the revisions.
All right, we're gonna have to mute everybody's mic if you come, people can't, if you got the live stream up, you have to turn it off if you got your mic on. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what will be posted on the live section. No mistake.
Somebody has the live stream up and we're getting an echo through your audio. Jacinta, we're gonna have to mute everybody's mic if you come, so people can't, you got the live stream up.
But now
All right, that was it. We've had an addition. We have Kristen Butler. Could you introduce yourself?
Hey, thank you. Hey, y'all. I'm Kristen Butler. I'm an assistant professor in the LSU Health Shreveport MLS program, and just kind of found out that these meetings were available now virtually, and thought I'd check it out. Happy to be here.
Now, Ms. Butler, are you a member of the committee?
No, I'm just from the public.
Okay, Ms. Butler, we would have to ask you to be excused from the meeting itself. And you can continue to observe on the live stream. So Ms. Jacinta will excuse you from the meeting and you can continue to watch and you can make your public comments like everyone else through email at publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov.
Okay, thank you for explaining that to me. That was a little bit confusing on where I was supposed to be.
All right.
So thank you so much.
All righty. And Jacinta, if you'll make me a co-host, I'll take care of some of these duties to help you out. Okay, please proceed, Ms. Gay.
All righty. Was there any more, Patsy, on the advisory committee appointments and the repeat non-attendance? You're muted. Patsy.
Patsy, you're muted.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Now I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh,
Is there
well, about the people who
comment?
repeatedly don't come to the meetings. We just want to reiterate that non-attendance for consecutive meetings very likely will result in asking that person to resign.
If you have anybody that falls in this category, send me their email. I will contact them before the next meeting and encourage them to attend the next meeting.
Got it.
All right,
Okay.
is there any more discussion under the advisory committee appointments?
No,
Open
can I-
position?
No, but can I just say something? Do we also keep track of our guests? And the minutes are always, put the names of the guests that are in attendance. Are we doing that?
At the present time, Angela, guests are not in the Zoom conference system. And we're evolving toward that, but at the present time, we're not. So anybody who wants to make a public comment, makes a public comment by email, and we include that in the minutes of the meeting.
So we don't have guests in attendance in our minutes.
Only if they're arranged for in advance and we make provisions for that.
Okay, got it.
If there's no planned guests, then there's no guests.
Okay.
I have a question. Is the MLT spot on the board is still open? Is that correct?
That position, I think it expires in November, so it will need to be reappointed or refilled at that time.
Is it still held by Mary Pellegrin, or did she leave for non-attendant?
No, that one, I'm sorry. I'm answering the wrong thing. That position is now open. And I've got a couple of people that were interested. Jessica noticed that one of them, and I don't know why it didn't dawn on me, is a traveling tech. And I just don't think that will work well as a committee member because they could be anywhere.
But if we're doing Zoom, they may.
Yeah, but we're not going to be always doing Zoom. I mean, Zoom's probably going to come to an end. Right, Dr. Brand?
It will come to an end when the governor's emergency declaration is over.
So, I mean, the appointment lasts for 3 years. I don't think that would.
Oh, I hope not. Okay, I was just curious because, I'm still trying to find people. My issue is the 5-year experience because
a
lot of the dedicated people that would want to take on the extra task go to empty within 5 years. So
but that's all right. If they were at one time certified, I believe, certified and licensed as an MLT, they can still hold the MLT position. I'm pretty, is that, am I not right about that?
I'm really not sure.
I thought we had one like that.
I think we did.
Vadreen, he had been an MLT and then he sat for the exam and ended up,
he was a lab assistant.
Oh, he was a lab assistant.
Okay, if that's the case, then that opens up a new door as far as me trying to find people. But if you don't need
I guess we can check on that.
Okay.
That's what I was under the understanding.
Let's go ahead and we'll check on that and report back at the next meeting.
Okay.
All righty. Is there any more discussion in this topic? If not, we will move on to the the next item agenda. Is there any more discussion on this topic? No. Okay. The next item agenda is just that the advisory committee minutes and the LSBME minutes are available on the LSBME website. Any comment, discussion? Okay. The next topic is the continuing education. Number of CEUs required for licenses granted after July 1st. I think the next bit of sentence is wrong. It says CEUs required for graduation. That's nothing we address. That probably should have said required for new graduates. Who's taking the lead on this discussion? Betsy?
I was just unclear on what do we expect for somebody that graduates during the year that they graduate. Am I supposed to say they've been in their program for 5 months, taking courses that are, of course, in education. Do they have to have additional continuing education in that year that they first get their license?
Patsy, if I may.
Yes, please.
Currently for our other license classes, if you mid-year, if you will, get your ticket, you have at your next renewal, you're responsible for the total number of hours of continuing education. So you all renew. We haven't changed the bylaws. That's one of the things that may be in the bylaws. I mean, in the rules where we might change, and that is right now, all of you all renew at the end of the year. So let's say somebody gets out in May. Before they renew in 2022, before they would renew, they would have to have all of their required number of hours.
Okay, that's fine.
But don't the rules, accept college courses?
That's why I don't understand.
But what?
It's
so
continuing
Dr. Day-
education?
That's what I was saying.
Once you get your license, you're no longer in training and you're required to get your continuing education after you get your license.
I
Okay.
got it. Okay. Okay.
Well, let me ask this, because mine graduated in December.
Well, they'll get their license in December. Okay, and so they'll have to get it for the next December. Unless you change it in the rules. Remember, we talked about possibly going to June or July and December, June and December. But it would be, if once you get your license, you have to start your continuing education.
At that point, okay.
So if they get it in December, it won't end on December 31st. It'll go all the way till the next year.
The next December, unless we change the
Okay.
rules
Okay.
to a June and December. We talked about that easing some of the workload on us, but it's a question that we have to decide.
Because you don't need the CEUs to get your license. You need the
Right.
CEUs to renew a license.
Yes, that's correct.
All righty. What about the question here regarding CE broker and adding acceptable agencies? Are we not up on all that?
No,
Well,
CE broker?
we have, the ones you have told us you wanted to use are currently in place. If you want to add some more, you can certainly tell us about them. And we would, if you approve them, then we would go ahead and put them in.
Okay, we don't have any for us to review to accept, do we?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
do we need any documentation to accept them, or just can we say, if I say we want to accept MedLab training, which is a national entity and a lot of places use it, can we just add that?
Provided that the committee approves it, okay?
Okay.
Again, we have asked you all to use national. In the long run, it's better for your people to have national organizations doing approving the continuing education. Now, it may be a hospital wants to do their own course and they might want to get national approval, okay? But then a national organization to approve it. We don't care which one it is, but whatever one you tell us is the ones we will honor.
Okay. Can we put that, can we propose that MedLab training? Does anybody have any other ones that?
Aren't they PACE? Isn't MedLab training PACE? Or no?
I really don't know.
PACE is my recollection is PACE is one of the ones that we have previously used
Oh, we
and
definitely
approved.
have PACE.
So
They
there,
are
PACE,
approved.
MedLab training, the MTS, University of Washington, that's what you're talking about, I think. They have PACE certificate.
There are two different entities that I get very mixed up. One of them's MedLab training and one of them, what is the other one?
Media Lab.
Media Lab.
I think Media Lab, either Media Lab is PACE or Media Lab is already on there because that one's been addressed.
Okay. Okay, well.
I think that once people start entering their CEU's own CE broker, then we are gonna, we may have some discussion at that point.
Yeah, well, I've been
Pretty sure
asked
MedLab
about-
training is already PACE.
It is PACE?
I think,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, then we don't.
MedLab training and Media Lab are both PACE.
So we're good.
They are?
Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay.
So
then
they're
I
good.
can answer their questions and that's fine. We don't need to list them separately if they're PACE.
That's correct.
It's on there, so we're good.
So something came up at our office today. What about when techs are trained on an instrument, and they're given continuing education for that? Can someone appeal that for continuing ed? How does that work?
Who grants the continuing education powers?
All of our recent analyzers that we've been trained on have been PACE approved.
Okay, so they're PACE approved. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
That
good.
solves that
Okay,
problem.
that solves that problem.
Yeah, so
Okay,
like Sysmix, Beckman, they get their stuff through PACE. So when you come back, you have like the 30 hours of PACE credits for going to school and stuff.
That
Okay.
makes it so much better.
Joni will be happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you see the benefit of using the national organizations.
Oh, I
Well, we
always
knew
agreed
that,
with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any more discussion on continuing education at this time?
Wait,
Is API accepted?
Yes,
I think they were in the list.
I know they are because a lot of
API
mine,
is part of ASCP, so yeah, they are definitely included.
they're already in CE broker. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What about this? So,
Is there any more discussion for continuing education at this point?
We're gonna.
does that is that going to come up in the rules, Dr. Van, about if you get a license? I guess that, okay, never mind. I'm not, what if you get a license and you get licensed in August?
Okay, so you need continuing education to renew a license. So you all have chosen to renew all at the same time in the year, okay? So you would have to renew everybody the same way. And so they would get their renewal requirements for December.
So, okay. All right, that's fine. I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then Ms. Gay is going to ask for any more public comment. We'll keep looking for those, but we are watching Ms. Gay.
Okay. One more thing. Wait,
ma'am.
Can I bring up one more thing?
Sure.
I've been asked about particularly the organizations that certify phlebotomists, like ACA, NCCT, NHA. They have their own continuing education. And I think that those should be acceptable because they're this, they are the certification organization nationally for that particular category of licensure. So I think they should be added to CE broker as well.
Okay, so is that one or two certifying organizations?
It's 3.
All right, so
ACA, NCCT, and
if you will get us a list after you make the motion, just get us a list and we'll try and get, so I don't want to get the names wrong, because if I give the wrong names to CE broker, then it won't work. So
Okay.
I'll need the exact names as it would appear on their certificates. Please make the motion and let the board decide about it. But if they all decide, whichever ones or all you decide, just give us the exact names so we don't mess up with CE broker.
okay. I can't make a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we add these 3 certifying agencies for phlebotomists to CE broker so that they can use those for continuing education credits.
Would you consider amending your motion to say we accept continuing education for any entity that we accept their certification?
Yes.
Well, then you'll have to tell me all the certifications you accept, then, because that will have to, in other words, I don't know all of the certification agencies and we haven't told the CE broker and they won't know. So you'll have to give me a list of all of the certifying agencies that are nationally accredited certifying agencies. And we'll be happy to do that. But if you can't give me that list, I suggest you go with what you've been doing now.
Okay. All right. We'll just address them as they come up.
So what?
All right. So we're back to Angela's original motion. Is there someone to second?
Certification agencies.
I'll second.
Okay.
Who seconded?
Me, Shannon.
Shannon.
Oh, I'm not sure what we
Dr. Van, we went back to your original motion as you said it, accepting
those
continuing
3
education from the 3 phlebotomy certifications. All right, and a public comment is welcome on the by email at publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov.
Not plural, it's singular. Public comment at.
No S.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, Dr. Van, I have a question now
Sure.
regarding the agenda.
Okay.
The agenda as I received it, as we received it, and numbered out, doesn't match the documents that are popping up over here in our window.
I understand. And again,
Do I go by what's numbered on page 1? We just move through that?
yeah, just move through it that way. It's
Okay.
easier.
Okay, that's what we're gonna do. All righty, so next on the agenda is the CLPC budget. These documents were on the cloud share for everyone to review. Jacinta, will you be displaying those for us to discuss? And we also have our CFO, Ms. LaKenya, here to discuss it with us.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, what would you like to take first? I'll go ahead and pull that document up first. We have budget versus actual profit and loss in the balance sheet.
You can pull up the balance sheet. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't matter. Whatever.
We
Yeah,
can pull up the
figure out
balance.
the best way to
Let's
do
do
it.
the budget versus actual. Let's do the budget versus actual. Jacinta.
I don't know how to get back to it.
Or whichever one is available. Whichever one I can, if you have one already up, we can go with that one.
We can see it now.
Okay, so what's reflected here is the budget versus actual, and the budget was approved back in November. And so the budget that you see here, the revenues were budgeted at $383,000. And of course, with CLAB, most of your license renewals happen at the end of the year. So most of your revenues come in November and December. So if you look at the actual revenues that we've collected through May 31st, it's only $51,285, but that would be because the chunk of your revenues are received in November and December, and those that are reflected on the books at this time would be only those who may have paid late in January or February through May. So these are like late payments really that came in. So right now, as of today, or as of May 31st, because this is the financials that will be presented at the board meeting, it will be $51,285 as of May 31st. And the expenses that you all have totals $58,371. One thing I do noted that there were 2 employees that are paid by the CLAB funds, and those employees prior to June, I just made the correction because as I was looking at the budget, I saw that we have 2 employees, Ms. Ashford and Mr. Wegner. Their salaries have been reclassified to the CLAB funds, so you will see that change in June. So it's not reflected here, but their salaries will be on there, and they are already budgeted as well. So their budgeted salaries and benefits are the $170,000. So if you look in the expense section where you see regular and related benefits, the total salaries and benefits are $170,000, and that amount reflects those in two employees that I just discussed. But and again, there are changes to the expenses. You will see that change in the month of June. And next, the total operating services, that's more your printing costs, other just operational fees that are allocated there. And then in the next section for professional services, that's our contracts that we have with LSU Health Sciences Center. And that represents the $45,000. So if you look at your actual to budget as of May 31st, the total expenses are $58,371, and the total expenses that are budgeted for the year are $350,273. So again, that's your revenue, that's your actual versus budget. If you have any questions, just please let me know. But that's the gist of the revenues and expenses that have been allocated to CLAB through May 31st. Okay. And we can then go to the next report, the balance sheet. If we have the balance sheet.
Coming.
Okay, all right, great. Okay. All right, so for your balance sheet, the cash, the current assets section, that reflects cash, your reconciled cash account, the funds that flow through Braintree, and that's our credit card system. They process the credit card payments. Receivables, that would be individuals that owe funds, and then allowance for bad debt. And then we do have the due to, due from, that some things get deposited to the LSBME account, and we have to transfer those funds back. So it's normally a small dollar amount that goes into that account. No property and equipment, so your total assets are 1.4 million. In the liability section, we have accounts payable, and that's just individuals that we owe funds to, and the amount that you owe to the LSBME account, small dollar amount. Again, that's just when funds may hit LSBME account and they should go to the general fund or the CLAB and vice versa. So that is your total liabilities at this time. And this, again, this is as of May 31st, and it's $2,742. And in the capital section, it shows your total reserves, that's 1.4 million. And then the 7,000, that it shows a loss of income, but again, your revenues come at the end of the year. So at this time, it's no reason to be alarmed about that. Your revenues just come at the end of the year. And then I do have a comparison. It's a 3-year comparison, just so you can see that we're where we are at the same point in time in the previous 2 years. And that's on the next statement. JACINTHA, the 3-year income statement. And this as of May 31st as well. And that should be the last report that you have for CLAB. Okay, thank you. All right, so if you look at this report shows 5 months of income and expenses, and it looks back at the previous 2 years to reflect, okay, where were we at the same point in time 2 years ago versus 1 year ago. So if you look there again, the revenues slightly off, but again, these are normally going to be your people that may have paid in January when they were really renewed, or should have paid in either November or December. So nothing to really be alarmed about there. And then your expenses, again, they total $58,371, and we went through the back, the detail, the detail of those on the previous report. And at this time, it shows a net revenue loss of $7,086. And again, those revenues come in at the end of the year, but we still have expenses throughout the year that gets allocated towards the CLAB. So that's why you will see it in the with a deficit balance. And that concludes all the expenses and revenues that have been recorded to CLAB, and this is as of May 31st. I'm not sure if we have any questions or not, but I'm welcome to respond to any questions you may have.
Ms. Collins, thank you so very much for giving us this data and for coming to explain it to us. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions for Ms. Collins? All right. If we have no questions.
Seek a motion to approve the report, please, Madam Chairman.
Okay. I seek a motion to approve these budgetary reports as presented to us.
I approve.
So Morteza, I need a second.
A second, Beverly.
Beverly and Morteza. All in favor, aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item on our agenda
Madam Chair, we do
Yes,
have
sir.
one public comment that needs to be read into the record. And that is from Tammy Shalou. She asked, is the list of approved CE providers public? And if so, where may this be found? And you can find that on CE Broker. So just want to let you know. You move on, and you can ask for other public comment to occur now if you like.
We are accepting public comment on the CLPC budget we just had, and for the next topic, which is the CLPC continuing education contract. It was leading this discussion regarding the contract. I think this was our educational contract that this was addressing.
Well, at the last meeting, there was a question, can other people submit proposals? And
Right.
so I think the proper answer to that is the board can entertain any proposal that comes to it to provide that service. And then we would evaluate that in the light of any other existing contracts. And we would make recommendations to you all to approve them or not approve them based upon what we tell you in terms of the viability of the different proposals. But absent a proposal, we can't tell you anything because we can't evaluate anything. But certainly the board has no objection to receiving proposals from anybody, but it's not necessarily going to accept them automatically because that's a pure business decision that the board has to make, looking at both fees and experience and proposed educational content and how it will be delivered and all of those. Those are the kinds of things that we need to do to evaluate a proposal to do continuing education. So again, I will tell you that that's where the board would stand on it. And at this time, we've had no other proposal other than the one that exists now. And if people want to send us another one, we'd be happy to look at it. Obviously, we're not going to get rid of a contract in midterm, but it would certainly we'd like to have the opportunity to evaluate it in enough time prior to contract renewal. And at this point in time, I will tell you, we have none.
Okay. Any comment or discussion? If not, we will move on. The next topic, we welcome.
Unmute. Okay, go ahead. There you go.
Wait, I'm sorry, we were muted and I was talking. Back on that subject, it says in the law that the committee is to provide continuing education for the licensees. It appears to me that the committee should be the one, if the committee wants to ask for proposals, the committee should ask for proposals, and then once they got those, they should go to the board. That's just the way I read the law.
Again, I have no argument with that, but I want to make it clear that we have not received any proposals. And if you all give us a proposal to evaluate, we will, but we've not received any. And I want to make it clear, we would make a business decision that is in the best interest of continuing education. And I can't tell you what it's going to be because I haven't seen a proposal.
So Dr. Van, you're saying that if someone wants to submit a proposal, they would submit it to the board, not to our committee.
Well, and then we would send it to you with our recommendations. Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments? Public comment can be made at the public comment at lsbme.la.gov. All right, we'll move on to the next topic. The next topic on our agenda is an update on licensure for histotechs and histotechnicians.
I think Dr. Beverly, you will make a comment about that.
No, we talked about it last time. We have not done any further work on that, but we will be looking into that.
Okay, so at this time, there's no recommendation for licensing them at this time.
Not at this time.
Okay, we're fine with that.
All righty. The next topic on the agenda is the specialist in chemistry performing molecular diagnostics. Who is leading that?
I have gotten some comments from people, and they think because they are a specialist in chemistry, that they should be able to perform molecular diagnostics. So what I did was go to the certifying agencies for molecular diagnostics, and I looked up the content outlines for those exams, and there's nothing molecular on those certification exams. So in my opinion, a clinical chemist cannot do molecular testing because they're not certified to do it. Now, right now during the proclamation, they can. But once that proclamation is ended, then to me, a clinical chemist is not qualified to do molecular diagnostics. What is your y'all's thoughts on that?
What's an example of molecular diagnostics? I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what
What's
you
an
said.
example?
Oh.
COVID testing, any testing that does PCR. I
see.
mean,
Got
all
it.
of those kind of tests.
All kinds of
All kinds of
molecular.
things.
Yeah, fish.
Yeah, fish.
What's
But
the
the clinical chemistry exams don't have any of that kind of testing.
there are some clinical chemistry exams that are specific for molecular.
Well, that would be
Right.
acceptable. But
Right.
they wouldn't get a specialist in chemistry. They would get a specialist in molecular.
Does such a specialist exist in Louisiana licensure?
Yes. If there's a certification for it from a nationally approved agency, then yes, there's a specialty in it.
Well,
And all the agencies have it, just about.
what's the CLIA requirements for a lab director of a molecular lab?
Well, Alexa's here.
Well, for a lab director, they have to be a PhD or an MD. And they would also, Alexa would have to answer the rest of the question. As far as licensure, they have to have a certification in that area. As far as CLIA, I'll let Alexa answer the question.
So the licensure and the CLIA requirements are going to be separate. For CLIA, we're looking at the complexity of testing, not at the specialty. So the specialty portion of it, we're going to go back to, LSBME, because the license is specific to the specialty. Typically, we see people with a specialist or MD, if you're talking about high complexity. There's no, for CLIA, there's no specialty for molecular. Like there just isn't a specialty. So.
But their education requirement alone, is that right?
Yeah, for education, it has to be PhD or.
Right, MD.
Or MD.
Yeah. See, if you see that she's going through here, there's no comments on these exams about molecular testing.
Yeah, I read through that and I didn't really see anything, but who would qualify to work in molecular? Would that fall under micro? Is that like?
No, they need a certification in molecular diagnostics.
Or be a generalist.
Or be a generalist.
Or they can be a generalist.
Okay.
If they're a generalist, they can do
They're good.
anything.
Okay.
But there are questions on molecular testing on the generalist exam. There are not questions on the chemistry specialty exams.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering if maybe micro covered it, because that's kind of, big and micro.
Well, if there was a micro exam that had molecular on it, then a microbiologist specialist may be able to do it.
Okay.
Depending on what their certification is.
Gotcha.
But not a chemistry unless they had whatever Larry was talking about. They'd have to show on their certification exam that that's covered in the content of the exam.
So for licensing, and I mean, we're looking at specialists now. So for the licensing component, how does LSBME decide what specialty each board certification gets put in?
When they take the exam, it says what the specialty is.
So is there a list of specialties for license?
Pardon?
Is there a list for the different specialties that you can be licensed in Louisiana?
I don't know that there is an exact list. I think maybe there are in the rules as they stand now. They list some specialties, but we do any specialty that there is an approved certification exam.
Can we look at the
approved specialty exam? Then we will give them a specialist license in that area, no matter how small it is.
It's an examination from a nationally accredited certifying agency in a particular specialty.
So if you look at the what's on the screen now, the paragraph that says categories of questions may include, and you go down to the line, the third from the last line, it says genetics / molecular / biochemical.
Oh, well, then we'd have to do it for that exam.
That's a chemistry.
I missed that.
And that's a chemistry.
I missed that comment. Yeah.
And
so I'm not gonna say that any specialist in chemistry is gonna automatically be able to do molecular testing. It just depends on what exam they have. I missed that because I read this.
And I think some of the others have it also, but it would have to, you'd have to.
I'm pretty sure the others have it too.
We'll go down in the other one. Let's read it again.
National Registry.
That's clinic.
The one thing that we look at, and I don't know if this will be helpful, but a lot of times what we're looking at is how tests are categorized by FDA. So if it's a test that's put in general chemistry, routine chemistry, toxicology, then that would be under the chemistry license.
Right.
If it's a that's put in microbiology or virology, that would not be in a chemistry specialist. That's not for lab developed tests, which is probably what a lot of those individuals are looking at. But even lab developed tests, they have to, the laboratory that develops it, they have to assign the specialty. So if they're putting it in virology, then it's not chemistry.
Right.
I know the molecular biology part is where you're going to have problems with that because there's not a specialty for molecular biology. They're looking at the target of whatever that molecular test is to determine the specialty.
Let me ask this question, if you guys would allow me to. If someone got a chemistry specialty in 1999,
yeah,
okay, or make it 2010, or what, make it 1999, but 1999, and that test at that time did not include molecular, how would you know? And B, how would you be able to grant them molecular at this time? Because the new test said it might be there, doesn't say it's definitely there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure this out because we may have to revamp the whole concept of specialties in this, in the area of these various things, because as these things evolve, how do we determine appropriate quality, and how do we move somebody who was trained in a certain specialty like chemistry into molecular if at the time he trained he didn't do it, and at the time he was tested he didn't take testing on it?
Right. It's a problem.
I would go back to the specialties as they're FDA approved.
If that's the argument, though, then a generalist would not be able to, you know, a generalist that got their certification in 1999 may not have covered molecular.
That's my point. As these new things come about, how do you want to address them, and how do you want, or do you want to take a shot at reorganizing all of this for the future? I mean, you have the current system now, and it looks like you're telling me that there's some of the people who got certain qualifications would normally not have taken this test, but now the new people have taken a test. And how do we differentiate between them?
I think the med tech, it's different. A med tech is specialized. I mean, there are new things we learn every year, not
Every
even like
day.
a molecular that we were never trained on. I didn't even know what caused HIV when I graduated from my residency. So I think being a med tech is totally different than someone who has a specialist.
I agree.
I don't disagree, but I still got the problem of the specialties and the issue of who is considered what and how we do this. And I think probably we need to sit down as a small working group and flow chart this, get it all together, and then come back to the committee with some recommendations on how you want to proceed in the future, because you brought up a very serious point, and the molecular testing will all disappear for those temporary permits 90 days after the governor's emergency declaration is over. And that's because the board has said, since so many of these licenses are around patient care that needs to not be disrupted, we've gone to the governor's office, and the governor has allowed us to make these things happen in such a way that there's no disruption of patient care. So he approved us giving the 90-day extension on all of these. But in terms of new licenses, once the emergency period is over, it's over. And so there'll be no more new licenses, and there'll be time to wind down all of the patient care issues in the 90 days. We're concerned about
the new
that.
license, the people that were under the special license from the government, they were only doing COVID testing. They weren't doing other molecular tests. And
Well,
there is a specialized molecular exam that someone can sit for if they're a specialist and wants to get that on their certification. So there's testing that they can take no matter what their background is, to be able to say they are approved for molecular biology. So I think what they did for the government was only for COVID testing. And I don't think we need to have everybody that did COVID testing now be in the workforce to be able to do molecular testing. I don't think that's appropriate. So I think for us, I think there is an examination for molecular biology they can sit for if they're a specialist that wants to actually perform molecular.
So then you would not say, based upon what we read about the general chemistry now, some of those people may have testing for molecular, but we're going to not honor that. Is that what you're suggesting? Because I'm not clear on how you want to proceed.
No, I knew that some people that took the certified chemist exam did have molecular experience. So that's different. So this exam did include molecular testing. We can see that, right, on the National Registry. So if that chemistry exam, because for a while that was the only place that you could get molecular testing was through that. So that was the only place you could get it before it was more widespread than it is today. So if the certification exam, like Patsy said, if they said they did the molecular part and they are certified by that, then I would accept them.
So how are we going to verify that?
I'll just
who they
check.
were certified by.
I'll check their certification and see if the content's there.
All right, Belinda,
the
as long as y'all can make it work, that's
Yeah, the
fine with me.
RSVP doesn't have it, so we can't do it for those, but we could do it for these because it's listed.
Yeah.
So when I look at the but I have to say, when I look at the content of this, it never showed any molecular.
But it is there. Oh, you
No,
mean
that's in the content.
Larry, can you go down to the content on this? Who's got this up on their screen?
This is JACINTha controlling that for you.
Oh, JACINTha, can you go down to the individual? Isn't there more here? More categories that are more specific?
That's other.
That's a different company.
That's other.
That's the BOC exam.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so I guess it's up to the licensing, and that would be Patsy. What?
Okay. Go all the way up, JACINTha, please.
What's above that?
What's above that? Okay,
Oh.
that's good. Okay, never mind.
But when it comes,
Check
when
when
it
they come
comes,
through and see what certification they have, and if they can do molecular if it's in their content, and if it's not, we can't do it.
Okay, Patsy, let me say this to you. it would be helpful. You carry this wealth of knowledge inside your head, and one day you may not be available to help us. Could you put together a rubric that we could, as a committee, approve, and then that rubric could be used by anybody who has to step in your shoes?
Okay.
But what it comes down to is, as a new technology is introduced into the laboratory, all the people who were certified by under any category may not have had training in that.
But like Beverly says, they're trained as they're working. A new applicant would not have that experience.
Well, I said I'm only comfortable with people who have med tech degrees or
Yeah.
NLP degrees. I'm not comfortable with these specialized exam people.
Yeah.
Because a generalist, you learn how to do every new test. You know, testing in general. That's what you're trained on. So to me, med tech's totally different. It's just like a pathologist. Like I said, I didn't have everything I wasn't trained on every disease that I know about today. But as part of your career, you keep up with that. But as a specialist with no certification to start with, I would want them to sit for, there are specialized molecular testing that they can take and get a certification for. So if they were interested in doing it, that's what they should do.
I agree.
Well, but what you're saying is, if they have a specialist, if they're working in a lab as a specialist, they would get the same training as working in the lab as a medical technologist, right?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
And maybe
Yeah, but you can't say it that.
That's why I wouldn't approve that then. And even if, I don't know, to me, it's totally different being the med tech, who's a traditional laboratory person, because it's more standardized what those people went through than what the training the specialists went through. And if it's not in molecular, I wouldn't have any idea to know how to assess that. And there is a special certification exam for molecular, so they could sit for that.
We have several that work for our company that are generalists with the specialty in chemistry, and they are under the governor's ruling allowed to do the COVID testing, and they have been being trained in the molecular and the COVID testing right alongside the med techs that are there that are general.
But they're only doing COVID testing.
Yeah.
That's all they're allowed to do.
That doesn't mean they can do cystic fibrosis testing. It doesn't mean they can do thrombophilia testing.
That's part of the issue.
But they're learning the platform. They're learning the platform on which all of the testing is performed on.
No, there are lots of different platforms.
But they could learn it just as easy as a med tech. I don't see the difference.
Okay, there's issues of continuing education. There's issues of primary education. And I think it's important that we sit down and put together a rubric, because this appears to be an evolving trend that we have to address. And I don't think you're going to resolve it today. I think, a small working group should be put together to do this. And then we come back to you all with all of what we propose, and you can have a chance to see it and say, well, no, we need to do more, and we'll keep working on it. But I think, we can sit here and what if this to death. And I think that doesn't gain us anything until we put together a true rubric that really is right now in Patsy's head. And I think she's trying to do a great job for us. And we need to pick a brain and put it in and put it out in open place so that and Patsy's not available to comment on it. We still have the rubric to go with.
I agree. We need a committee.
And I have a public comment I just want to read, and this is from Tammy Shalou. She states that there is a molecular component on the AAB chemistry examination at this time.
We knew that.
And I don't even know if this would be possible. Would it be possible to get them certified, kind of like we do, like we do the lab assistants? Like if you've already got a specialty in something, you can be trained in the hospital with a checklist.
I don't know.
Molecular
is so like everybody. There's so many molecular tests that are easy.
A molecular?
No, but No, but I mean,
Well,
common
she was just
molecular-
saying they've trained so many people to do it. So that's why I was thinking if
But it-
that's your
Yeah.
only group of people that you can access and you're training them, then maybe that is an option. Like they already have a certification. It's not specifically in molecular, you
I
know.
think the problem for me is there's so much of a spectrum of molecular testing. One is putting a vial into a machine that reads it all by itself, into all the way to next generation sequencing, which is totally different. So it's a huge field. So just because someone can do COVID testing doesn't mean they can do the whole thing. And when you give them a molecular license, you're thinking they can do any of that. So to me, if someone's interested and has gotten into this license, this practice by this special licensure, they can learn and sit for that exam as a pathologist over the lab. So I'd be happy to be on the committee, and I'd be the one responsible for the testing they're doing. So to me, I'd be happy to be involved in the committee.
I absolutely agree.
I agree.
I think if you want to do molecular testing and that's what you're really interested in, then go sit for the exam. And then you have the specialty in molecular.
But when you say the exam, is my understanding from earlier discussions, there's no such thing as just a molecular exam.
Yes, there is.
Well, but there is a chemistry exam that says they have been tested on molecular.
So they would be fine.
No, there is also,
Along with 1,000 other things, but
Yeah.
there is a specialist molecular diagnostic.
Okay, so
exam.
again, I think all of that can be decided. It's not going to be timely to do it today unless you
Okay.
want to spend the rest of the night doing it,
No,
and that's
let's
fine
do
with
it.
me. I'm here to help you.
We don't.
Part of the confusion is molecular being a specialty versus a methodology. And that's a little different when you're using molecular as the method to do a chemistry test or a virology test, not necessarily a specialty in the entire field of molecular diagnostics. Is very different, which I think is where you're looking at the chemistry exam, having some molecular genetics, biochemistry. That chemistry exam is not preparing you to perform any molecular test that there is.
right.
It's a methodology that's part of chemistry.
Okay. Whatever you guys say, whatever you want to do, I'm happy to facilitate for you.
This is Jessica Lassiter. I'd like to be on that task force.
There's been no motion to create a task force.
I entertain.
This
I
is
entertain a
Patricia.
motion.
If you don't mind, let me just jump in right here. Pick about 3 people to have a discussion group about it, and then bring it back, the results of that discussion, bring it back to the full committee for action.
Okay,
Well,
who
we
else?
already,
I would
Go
like
ahead.
to be on that
Okay.
committee. I'm Beverly. I would like to be on that committee.
Michelle wants to be on the committee too.
Larry wants to be on the committee since I'm representing specialist.
Okay, alternatively, if more than a couple 2 or 3 of you want to be on it, in other words, if a quorum of you are going to get together and do this, you just need to have a special meeting to discuss this separately. You can't have a quorum of you meet, otherwise you just need to call a special public meeting to do this just by yourself.
7.
So how many people would like to be on the task force? I have Michelle, Larry, Beverly, and Jessica. Anybody else?
I don't want to be, but please don't make it too complicated. We already have a shortage in the field.
Dr. Van, it's a quorum for our committee 8.
Yes, ma'am.
So
So
as long
4
as
would
we
be
say
fine.
fewer than 8.
Well, 4 would be fine, okay? But the key here is you got to have a motion to create it, then you appoint it, and then I'll start making it happen.
I entertain a motion to create a working group to address the specialist, certifying specialist licensing.
I make a motion to create a work group to work on the specialist licensing.
Could you change it to a discussion group, please?
I make a motion to create a discussion group.
And just say of 5 or less people.
Of 5 or less people.
Well, wait,
All right,
I
Jessica.
thought we were deciding on who we're gonna be on this committee right now. Do you not want to do that?
I
We have to
think
make
that
the
that's,
motion first.
make the motion first. The president then appoints that, and she can do that today if she wants, tomorrow night if she wants, or she can take emails and have volunteers and pick from the volunteers.
So this is a discussion group to discuss the,
Recommendations to the committee for determining who is valid to be licensed to do molecular testing, and if so, types and what kind. And hopefully even bring it back to a full rubric, but that's going to be something that would have to evolve to.
on the qualification.
We have a motion. We have a motion as such from Jessica. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Larry. I have no problem with appointing the committee right this second. We already have some volunteers. We have Dr. Ogden. Did you volunteer?
Yeah.
Dr. Ogden, Jessica, Michelle, Larry. That's 4. Are there any other volunteers?
I would like to participate. This is Alexa. I would like to participate just, I mean, I know I'm not like a part of the committee technically, but just to make sure that it's aligning with how we're looking at it for CLIA perspective.
We invite you to the meetings as a subject matter expert.
Isn't it true that our categories can't be stricter than CLIA, or am I confusing all of this?
No, it doesn't say anything about the categories.
Okay.
We have not voted. We have not voted on the motion to develop this discussion group. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Is there any opposition? Or the motion carries. And we have a committee appointed. Do I have to attend these meetings too? That would make it 5.
You don't have to, but it's you can be ex officio, but it's really, you would be a member of the quorum. So as long as you don't go over 7, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Maybe Larry.
But you need to just do me a favor. And Jacinta, did you get all those names?
I did. Michelle,
enough.
Larry, Beverly, Jessica, and
No,
Alexa.
sir, I don't take the minutes.
Okay.
I got them. I got
You
them
got
too.
I have them. I
I
have
Good
have
enough.
them
As long
also.
as you got them, I don't want to miss anybody.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a suggestion that you consider appointing someone very knowledgeable in molecular as a subject matter expert also. I mean, the one that comes to mind right now is Joni Mercado.
Is that someone you could contact and invite to the meetings as a subject matter expert?
She's the department head of the med tech department at LSU. So Patsy and Angela work with her daily.
I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah, she used to be the assistant director at the OPH laboratory as well, so she'd be a great resource.
Okay.
I agree.
Well, let's invite her or him, her.
Joni.
Okay, Joni. Okay, let's invite her to participate also. Is there any further comment or discussion? Public comments on this topic are invited in written form at the public comment at lsbme.la.gov. All righty. The next topic on our agenda is the Rules Revision Task Force. The rules have been presented, emailed to everyone. Now, for this topic, there are multiple opportunities for public comments. Public comments can be made now at the public comment at lsbme.la.gov. They can be made before the Louisiana State Board of Medical Examiners, who reviews this and makes the final decision. There will be an opportunity for public comment when this goes before the Occupational Licensing Review Committee. So there will be multiple opportunities for people to make public comment on this topic.
And additionally, just so you'll know, Madam Chair, after the first pass to the Occupational Licensing Review Committee, we will hold a formal hearing for comments. They'll go back to the Occupational Licensing Committee. Then if that gets approved there and there's no objection there, there can be comments as well. Then it would then go to the legislative oversight for opportunity for comment as well. So many chance to, if you don't feel bad, if you miss it today, you'll get it lots of other times. This is basically to take a document to my board, to the full board, to say we'd like to proceed on with this rulemaking effort. And then, of course, all of those processes will take place once we begin the rulemaking process. So this is only to give the board a suggestion on a starting place. And that's what we're asking you to do today. Your committee has worked very hard, and I think it's important to understand that this is not the final document. And it may not look anything like the final document. We just don't know what it's going to look like at the end of the process.
Okay. Everyone has had time to review. Has everyone had time to review the revision of the rules?
I have not. It's Michelle Warner. I've been working on it, but it's a rather cumbersome document.
Can you
Okay.
center it, Jacinta? I don't know. Is that? Oh, never mind. Never mind. I'm sorry. Okay.
Wish it could be bigger.
Can you make it a little bigger? Yeah, and
So that helps.
and center. Oh, well, maybe that's too big.
I do not think our meeting tonight will allow for us to read through line by line of this revision.
Well, it probably won't, but we could get through some of it, Gay. I think we could get through some of the things regarding name change and things like that in the beginning. I would like to I would like to at least get started. We certainly will not be able to finish it, but maybe we could designate 15 or 20 minutes to at least start. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels about it. I just feel like we've been working on this so long. I'd really like to see a little progress made on it.
Can I ask a question before we get started?
Sure.
So there's pink or this purple color, and then further back there's green. What is the key to the green and the purple? I mean, what is the difference?
I think I can speak to that a little bit. So, we had a task force that met in December of 2000 and November of 2019. Is that right, Dr. Van? The first
November, and I think in January too, and again, one other time. So I think we had 3 meetings.
No, so the complete committee, task force met, and it wasn't just committee members. There were other people that worked on it as well. And we met at the LSBME. And so most of the initial red stuff is what we pretty much did in that meeting. When it gets towards the end of the document where it's in blue, those might have been things that we did. Patsy and I met with Dr. Van, and we made some, because we never got to the end of the document. So you can see that the majority of it that's in red was pretty much the outcome. Can you center it, Jacinta? Maybe that's me. Never mind. Hold on. Yeah, pretty much what the task force decided. I can't say 100%, but close, okay? And then the stuff towards the end that's in blue, I think most of that was the meeting that Patsy and Dr. Van and I had, which didn't involve the whole task force, to kind of finish up at the end.
I know there were some revisions that were simply making names match current names of associations.
Right, so that's why I was wondering if we could at least look at some of that in the beginning and get a consensus from that's way back at the end. That unprofessional conduct is very new. That was something that we had talked about adding into our rules, because in the original law, there was nothing in the law that addressed really people who were convicted of crimes, right, Patsy, and other things. It was all about duties as a clinical laboratory science professional. There were lots of other things that, you know, the investigators said, you know, that they would like to be able to use when talking about possibly disciplinary action against clinical laboratory personnel. So we took those unprofessional conduct. That's very new. That's just something that, you know, the committee needs to look at as well.
And it's modeled after what's in the law for the doctors. So this was out at the request of the Department of Investigations, and we modeled that last part from what's in there for the physicians.
But I think we could at least have a discussion on, you know, some of the name changes. I mean, that's not rocket science. I think we could have maybe at least go through some of it. Are y'all willing to do that?
Yeah, I would think that. I mean, get through several pages of this. It's just.
Can we go back to the beginning, please?
All right, so Angela, if you would just lead the discussion on this then, and I'm gonna set a timer on, because it's already 6:30. I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes. And then everybody will have a chance to review before our next meeting. And maybe we'll be at a point that we can have some questions at that time. Y'all ready?
Yeah, but I don't have any control over the, you know, the movement of this document, so.
Can these be, this part be emailed? Because this is on the cloud, so we can't like print it and.
I could print it. Actually,
there's a little print document up there.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
I thought everything on the cloud you couldn't
You
print.
cannot,
Like,
you can't print it, you can't download it, you can't save it. It's a secure document. Now, if you want me to go ahead and email you a copy of this, I can email a copy to the entire committee, but you cannot download or print the agenda.
And you can't share it with anyone else.
And if you want, Angela, I can make you a co-host as of right now, if you just want to deal with the sections that you want to go over in your 15 minutes.
Okay, does that mean then I'll have control over, I can move it myself?
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, there are other people at this meeting that were on that task force. So anyway, can I move it now? I can't, I'm not able to move it.
Try it now.
No.
I don't know if she can move it, just said that because it's your screen that's being shared.
I'd probably have to pull it up from my email, from the cloud. I don't know. Just go down if you can, Jacinta, please. So wait, no, go up again. Okay, so go up. Oh, gee, go up, keep going up to the first page. Right, so go over to the right column. So there is no International Society for, this is easy, International Society for Clinical Laboratory Technology. That is now the American Association of Bioanalysts. So these were just updated name changes. American Society of Clinical Pathologists is now American Society for Clinical Pathology. Go down, Association of Territorial and Public Health, whatever, it's now Association of Public Health Laboratories. Keep going. That Gamma Biologicals is now MUCOR Lab Education and Resource Center. Okay, keep going. So, wait, no. Society of Forensic Testing is Society of Forensic Toxicologists, okay? And then any other organization, stop. Then the National Accrediting Agency for Clinical Laboratory Sciences, or the Commission on Accreditation of Allied Health Education. That's just a name change. You know, they've changed their names. So can we all agree that that looks okay so far? Easy, right? Does anybody have any problems with any of that?
Anybody has a problem, speak up. We're moving on.
I'm on the clock, y'all. Let's go.
All good, all good.
Okay, so next, now this is where we'll have some discussion. Go down, Jacinta, please, or up, whatever you want to call it. All right, so this is what we're proposing as name change. Now, ASCLS has had a position paper for quite a while now on changing the name of our profession from clinical laboratory scientist or medical technologist. It's medical laboratory scientist. So we're proposing that instead of calling ourselves by license clinical laboratory scientist generalist, because I think that generalist created so much confusion, because it made it look like the generalist could do everything and the MLTs couldn't. And that's totally wrong. The MLTs can do everything that what we were calling a generalist can do. We propose medical laboratory scientist, or MLS. That would be the medical technologist traditional Bachelor of Science degree, right? That we traditionally would say that. All right, but just anyway, medical laboratory scientist, right? And then
Put it on. Put it down.
okay, then the next one, instead of ML, go up a little bit. I can't see it right here. Instead of clinical laboratory science, go up again. Oh, no, that's it. That's it. Okay. So then instead of calling them specialists, we would like to call them medical laboratory scientists categorical. Because when you say specialist, it sounds like they're better than just a medical laboratory scientist, right? So medical laboratory scientist dash categorical. And it would be they would be MLS-C. And they could be, in chemistry, hematology, molecular, blood bank, whatever, right?
As you all know, a specialist in our field indicates that you are
like a hematology. Go ahead.
That you are a medical technologist or a medical laboratory scientist, and you had an additional certification. That makes it very confusing because we're calling these people a specialist, which would indicate that they are, they are a medical laboratory scientist with a specialty.
So for instance,
only be able to work in one category.
So my certification is MLS ASCP SH, because I had to get 3 to 5 years of experience and then sit for a specialist exam in hematology. So I have an SH, but I mean, how do y'all feel about the term categorical? That's one hump.
I like the term. I like the term categorical, because then when this applicant applies for this section of the license, it's more implying to them you are getting a license in a category.
In one particular area of the lab, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now on the ASCP website, and I know that's just one of these certifications, they're calling those instances, the categorical term you're using, they're calling them technologist in blood bank, technologist in chemistry, technologist in cytogenetics, but they're calling us medical laboratory scientists.
Well, they can call them whatever they want, but for our licensing purposes, I think we should call them, that's ASCP. That's not ASCLS, right?
What does everybody else call them?
My degree from Louisiana Tech is medical technology. So I think that categorical is better.
No, this is the certification. This is what the certification does.
Who's everybody else, Jessica? Who are you?
Like AMT. What does AMT call someone that takes a categorical exam?
I really don't know.
So that's why I was just trying to stick with
what they call them. What they call them has nothing to do with why we license them. You would then say this is the license category, or what you could call MLS categorical hematology, for example. Then you would then specify what the requirements to get the MLS categorical hematology is and from who they can get it.
Well, that comes later in the rules. Like
Right, I know, but I'm
what-
just trying to explain it to Jessica why you want to keep it. It doesn't matter what anybody calls them. We're going to license them this way. And that way, it makes it more organized and thought process. And then you have basically very easy constructs and rubric and following the rules. And you don't have to always go back to poor Patsy to make a decision.
It does kind of matter what you call them because it causes confusion when we're called all different names. So I'm just trying to keep it consistent while we're changing rules.
Okay, well, so what would be your suggestion for a better term?
I like categories to look up what they're actually called when they're certified. Because I know when we have students, or even if someone went and took this exam, it looks like they're going to be called technologists and blood bank. But then when they go to license, they're picking a categorical. I was just wondering if everybody's on the same board. I would look at the others I wouldn't be able to make that decision right now.
If everybody's on the same board, I don't know what you're saying.
Like if AMT and ASCP and all the other certification exam agencies are using the same terminology for their.
Right now, they're all using something different. AMT calls them medical technologists. ASCP calls them
I didn't bring that.
MLSs.
But I was going to go bring
has MT and MLT. I mean, we can't go by what the certifying exams are doing. I think our profession, ASCLS has designated the term MLS and MLT. I mean, this is unique to our licensing, in Louisiana, because we have to be able to license them under a certain term. But they're all different ones.
One of the things, so if you look at the license, what they were doing was using scientist as being bachelor's degree and then technician being associate's degree. So medical laboratory scientist, what do we have? Categorical and medical laboratory scientist. What was it for the
It's
general?
just MLS. It's just
MLS. Both of those mean you have at least a bachelor's degree. So they're using scientist as bachelor's degree, and then technician meaning you can be associate's degree.
Who is they, Alexa?
They is in the committee that met you.
The drafting committee.
Right.
So
what the
instead
document
of
is proposing.
Instead of using technologist and technician, they were using when the committee met, it was scientist and technician. So scientist was bachelor's degree, whether you're categorical or generalist, and then technician was associate's degree. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the most, modern term. It's taken, since I've been a tech, I've been called several different things. I've gone to MLS. I'm ASCP certified, but I think the point is what the new terminology that we put together is just understandable when you read it. You don't need somebody to give you an explanation. Like when you read it,
it makes sense.
Applying for this exam, right now it is a little bit confusing with the MLT and the MLS, the 4-year and the 2-year. And I think clear.
I think the CLS generalist is very, very confusing because you're an MLT educator. It makes it look like MLTs are not generalists, and they can do everything that MLSs can do. So it's just very confusing, or CLS. Anyway, well, we can discuss that further. We can put a note on that and say people need to. Maybe the committee would have to vote on that at a later time. How much more time do we have, Gay? 5 minutes? Anyway.
Wait, do we have another suggestion other than categorical?
She just wanted to, and the rest of that, by the way, we can discuss the name change, but we did change who performs functions limited, not directly related, but limited to such particular laboratory specialty or specialties. And then this next sentence made absolutely no sense in current practice. So we just deleted it. A clinical laboratory scientist specialist may perform the functions of the laboratory assistant and the phlebotomist without additional licensure or certification. I have no idea why that was put in the rules. We, as a committee, thought it didn't make sense. Does anybody have a problem with striking that? That's understood.
Right. It's part of the name.
Right.
Take it out.
Okay, and then getting down to the MLT again. So we changed it from clinical laboratory technicians to medical laboratory technician, or MLT. And then what we struck out there absolutely never made any sense. It says, which do not require the exercise of independent judgment. MLTs always are practicing using independent judgment. I don't know, I was not aware, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even meet the CLIA regs. Of course they use independent judgment, you know? And it says they shall perform tests and procedures of high complexity under supervision. As actually MLTs can do high complexity testing without being under direct supervision. Is that correct, Alexa? Alexa.
Sorry, what?
Can MLTs do high complexity testing without being supervised?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
So
they would
that
need
doesn't even, that
yeah,
is.
they don't need to be on site supervision.
That is really more stringent than CLIA, which our law clearly says we can't do that. So that, we struck that. Does anybody have any problem with that? Okay, keep going, Jacinta, please.
Now, can I make a quick, I want to make a quick public comment. Okay,
Yeah.
just so, and I understand that this is a public comment from Mr. Cobb. He believes that this is a law change and not a rule change. But before, this is what you all want to do. We'll figure out whether it's best to do a law change or rule change, but we'll make it happen from the proper term. I'm trying to find out what you want the rules to say, and we'll make sure that if you have to change the law to reflect what you want the rules to change, we'll change it as well. But again,
Can Mr. Koch tell us what law
part?
specifically he thinks
okay, well,
is in
okay.
conflict with?
I think let's just take his comment and let
Okay.
us research his comment before, because we're not going to finish this tonight anyway.
No.
And I'll come back to you with the next meeting.
Okay, so we're adding the medical laboratory technician may perform the functions of all categories of all clinical laboratory personnel licensed and certified in accordance with the law, except those of the cytotechnologist without additional licensure or certification, because cytotechs have their own special license. So we put that in to, I mean, you don't need to be an MLT to be a phlebotomist. I don't know why they added that, but MLTs and MLSs can automatically do phlebotomy. It's part of their training. They don't have to have an additional license to do phlebotomy. They never did. I don't know why they added that, and the committee didn't know why. So anyway, that's the history of those changes. Does anybody have any comments?
Yes, the last one that you say got added, isn't that what we just took out before, saying that it was just understood?
Go back above. I can't see it, Jacinta.
No, but in a previous category, we took it out because it said, you know, a clinical laboratory scientist specialist may perform the functions of the lab assistant. We took that out because we said
did.
that's.
We did.
But
take
then
it
we
out.
added essentially the same thing under the MLT, right?
Yeah, but the lab assistant, the reason for that is that the lab
It's not
assistant,
lab assistant, we're under MLT.
I'm talking about what he's talking about.
Oh,
Under the specialist of the categorical, the reason it's not in there is that you would have no competency checklist of that specialist being deemed competent to perform any test outside their category.
But what I'm saying is, we're saying that it's understood that all the categories, basically lab assistant and phlebotomist, all of our licensure categories above that include the ability to do that. Is that?
To do all
I mean, I don't-
levels of testing.
No,
Right.
no, that categorical, I think the categorical are those are those molecular people y'all talked about earlier. The categorical are, according to the new definition, says they are limited to performing their specialty.
Oh, right, Larry, that's the specialist.
That's what
That's
I was
why
trying
we
to
did
say.
it. Yeah, that's why we
That's
did it.
different.
That they're a specialist. That's different. So the MLS and the, go
But-
down.
But when we deleted it, we said it didn't make any sense because it was just understood, unless
No,
I'm,
it's not understood.
I may have said that
The
wrong.
categorical
Okay.
can't do any test in the laboratory. The laboratory assistant has been competency checked to do that, and the categorical wouldn't have had that.
So,
There'd be no verification of competency for those people.
so Larry, you see under the MLS, it says the medical laboratory scientist may perform the functions of all categories of the lab, and blah, 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 all to the end. We took
Right.
that out for this categorical because they are not. But then we added it back to the MLT. Jacinta, could you put it down, please? So we can know the other way. Here, the medical laboratory, that's the same verbiage that's under the MLS. You see that?
yeah, okay.
That's why we put it there. We took it out of the categorical because they are not.
But in
Right.
order for an MLT to do it, wouldn't they have to be competency tested?
No,
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 No?
because they're trained in
it
all
goes
those
under
areas,
their license.
and they're certified in all those areas.
Okay,
Okay, so keep going, Jacinta. All right, so this was another thing that has been in our rules that is in total violation of CLIA. It said the clinical laboratory assistant may perform high complexity tests.
That was always just an error.
That was an error in our
typing error.
rules. The lab assistants cannot perform high complexity testing.
You need to be careful with that one because a person can graduate from a NACLS accredited and not sit for their boards. So they do have the education that is required by CLIA to test. You may want, you're saying we
They're
can't.
not licensed because they're not
That would be our
certified.
license.
They can't be licensed because they're not certified.
I understand, but they can be licensed as a lab assistant.
They can, but they can't do high complexity testing.
CLIA
With
would
our
allow them to do high complexity testing because it doesn't have to deal with their license.
Well, but CLIA says that if there is a license in the state, that you have to follow the licensure laws.
But they will. They'll follow it for lab assistants and not. I think this one's going to have to be. We need to dig deeper into that one.
So you're saying a lab assistant that has a Bachelor of Science degree?
Yes. No, it actually has a Bachelor's of Medical Technology or MLS.
But they can't pass their test.
Right. They get their degree in MLS, but they just don't pass their boards.
They shouldn't be doing high complexity
Then
testing.
why do we want them to do it?
I don't want them to do high complexity testing.
I understand we may not want them, but you have said over and
So
over again.
CLIA will, according to CLIA, they can. Is Alexa here?
Yes.
Alexa.
Certification requirements come at the state licensing, not CLIA.
So if in Louisiana, can a lab assistant, if they have a Bachelor of Science degree in medical technology, but they're not licensed, that their only license is a lab assistant, under CLIA, can they do high complexity tests?
So it's not under CLIA.
It's under the
Whether or
license.
not they can. So right now in Louisiana, if you have a lab assistant license, you cannot perform high complexity testing because of licensure requirements, not because of CLIA requirements.
Good.
Period.
That's good.
Clear.
And Michelle, is that in conflict with what you see is going on in practice? Michelle?
No, because we have licensure in
Well, she's
Louisiana.
saying that people are
Doing it.
So, so for example, in Louisiana, you have licensure requirements. In Mississippi, there are not licensure requirements. So somebody can go through an MLT program or a MLS program and finish the program and not pass their board certification and cannot perform blood bank testing in Louisiana, but they can go to Mississippi, who does not have licensure laws, and perform testing, or Texas, who does not have licensure laws. They could not go to Florida. They couldn't go to California, New York, Tennessee. Anybody that has licensure is capturing the certification component.
But our lab assistant licensure has a checklist. And our checklist doesn't have the high complexity testing on it, does it?
It doesn't.
It does not.
It does not.
So
But what
lab
Michelle is saying is because they have that degree that, I don't know why they're, according to Alexa, they should not be allowed to do it in the state of Louisiana. So I'm very comfortable with this.
I'm only saying that based on the licensing, based on LSBME.
Yeah, I mean, y'all, why do we have a license?
Have a license if that were the case?
So lab assistant, so Michelle's talking about somebody that has education requirements and doesn't have a board certification, so gets a lab assistant license.
Right.
How lab assistant is written in the licensing requirements right here is capturing people who are high school diploma, and based on all of our conversations, that's what the
that
lab
was the intention of this person. Right.
Is to allow people to do moderate complexity testing without going through the education, and I will asterisk, and certification requirements. Not intended for somebody with a bachelor's degree, PhD, or anything else to get a lab assistant license to perform moderate complexity testing.
No, this is high complexity testing though. Yeah, okay, anyway.
But right now, since there's,
you may need to decide what your intention for the lab assistant license is. Is a lab assistant to allow somebody to perform moderate complexity testing only in the state of Louisiana?
I think that's what it says.
Or is it to allow somebody to meet the education requirements of categorical MLT generalists?
No, absolutely not.
Without meeting the certification requirements.
No.
Larry, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
but right now, because this reg is inaccurate, what's to prevent a lab assistant from saying, I'm allowed to do high complexity testing? It's right here in your regulations.
Because
the checklist, they can only do what they're checklisted off. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's an error, and it's been published as an error for years.
Right. So is the checklist part of the regs later?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It comes up, the rules, yes.
The rules are.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are just definitions.
Yeah. Okay, Jacinta, can we, this is just definitions, right? And so now this is going to require some discussion, because Dr. Van, you want to address the temporary license?
You've already gone over your 15 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, I was hoping we could at least get to the end of this section, but you know, anyway.
Go ahead. No, that's fine. Go ahead.
And y'all may all
Done.
want to stew over this. Dr. Van, do you want to plead your case for getting rid of the temporary license?
I just think it doesn't make any sense, but I think the deal here is, why are you going to give somebody a license if they haven't passed the necessary requirements? And if the requirements are you take a course and you take a test, then there can be licensed. But I mean, it seems like you're putting the cart before the horse here, and you're saying, well, it's okay if you don't take the license, or if you fail the test, we can continue to give you a temporary license. I think that's really not the intent of what this is about.
Right.
Now,
and
there may be times.
I definitely agree, Dr. Collada, that somebody that, if there is a temporary license, I think it needs to be very brief, and it should not be able to be renewed. If you fail the exam, you don't belong there doing taking those responsibilities if you didn't pass the test.
I mean, you don't allow a doctor to practice who doesn't pass his boards, right? They can't practice, can they?
Well, there are unique situations such as we just lived through in 2020, when graduates from medical schools and graduates from RT schools and graduates from lab schools could not sit for the exams because the exams weren't given.
Well, those were extraordinary circumstances.
And we didn't give them a temporary license. We gave them a temporary permit, which confers no property rights and therefore could be yanked at a heartbeat. And basically what we said is that allowed them to practice until the test was available and they took it and passed it. And then when people didn't take it and pass it, there was no permit. They didn't take the test in a finite period of time, there was no more permit. So once the testing started, all those permits went away. But here you're talking about giving somebody a temporary license, which means it's a bigger deal to get rid of it if we need to. And I think I just think it's the wrong way to say what we want to say. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so I mean, everybody in the committee can kind of stew over that, and we can look at that and revisit it later. But we would like to get rid of and I think that was a consensus among the task force. Anyway, Jacinta, could you go down then, please? So trainee. So if you can't grant a temporary license, and Patsy may want to speak to this, but our students were sometimes getting temporary licenses so that they could practice between the time they graduated and they got their scores from the BOC, which then would send them to the LSBME, they could get a license. But we thought if we get rid of the temporary license, we could give them a trainee license. So if they're graduates of a NACLS accredited program, but they haven't yet been able to sit for the exam, or they've sat, but they haven't gotten their scores back, they could get a trainee license for that short period of time. And as a trainee, you cannot sign out results. I mean, they would be
training.
That's all they would be doing, a trainee.
And in the beginning of a job, that's what people are doing
anyway. They have a 2 or 3 month training period, or where y'all know that they don't allow them to sign out results right away. So we added, so that would cover graduates of programs who haven't yet taken and gotten their scores. Now, they could continue to work as a trainee if they fail, but they're still a trainee and they can't sign out results.
And employers.
I know the Ochsner system will not hire.
They won't even hire.
Let them work with a temporary license.
No, they won't. They won't.
So the hospitals aren't even, or our main hospital here, system in New Orleans, is not even, acknowledging that right now.
We hire them as lab assistants until they graduate, until they.
That's another option.
That's another option,
I
right?
think that's a good option.
So it would be up to the student and the institution that wants to hire them as to what they would do. But this would at least give them, a license to be a trainee. But anyway,
the lab assistants better because they can report results.
So the next thing is easy. And then returning practitioners, that's handled at a different point in the rules. So we have we'll address that later. But wave tests, we don't need all these, they're gazillion wave tests.
Yeah.
So we just, those are routine technical procedures performed under or eligible for a certificate of waiver under CLIA. We don't need any specifics. I mean, this document is over 30 years old. You know, when wave tests were kind of just coming into being.
And that's
We don't
going
need all
to change. That's going to continue to change. You don't want to have it listed. as
No, absolutely not. So that's why we deleted all those. I mean, it would go on forever, right? I'm sure Alexa could attest to that. So Jacinta, would you keep going down, please?
Yes, it would be endless.
Endless, yeah, and then go back to the top of this, of the right side. I think it goes all the way. There's, yeah, so that's done. So we could stop there.
Okay, so
Mark saw his father on the floor. I saw him laying against the door.
What's that noise?
somebody's got their mic on and there's a lot of background noise being picked up. I'm sorry, I have no control over that.
Okay.
All right. So let me just comment. We have one public comment since the last one, and it's from Gary Cock, and he wants to know when the document will be circulated for the public. Well, I think it's still a work in progress, and so we will continue to view it as a work in progress. I assume that based upon what you're saying now, Angela, we are satisfied all the way up to everything above subchapter B is acceptable, or you want to go below subchapter B?
No, I think we need to stop, I'm sure, but I mean, we haven't really voted on that. I don't know if
okay, but
we
no.
could vote.
But I want to know where we're stopping in the document today for the record.
Subchapter B.
All of subchapter B or none of subchapter B?
We haven't even gotten to subchapter B.
Okay, so everything above subchapter B is if you vote on it, that's fine. If you want to change it, then you have to make the changes now, and we'll change it for the next meeting. But tell me what you want to do with everything above subchapter B.
Well, I'm going to make, and they don't have to vote this way. I would like to make a motion that the revisions that we have reviewed so far be accepted by the committee.
I second.
Who seconded?
Shannon.
Okay.
Shannon. All right, we have a motion that everything in the first section down to subchapter B be approved as revised. Do we have any?
Yeah, everything in subchapter A. We did everything in subchapter A. So you could say it that way. Okay. Approve subchapter A.
All right, so we have that motion and second for subchapter A is revised. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I need to get a count.
Yeah, you probably do.
Aye.
Aye.
Can y'all hold up? Maybe y'all can hold up your hands if you're an aye.
Can you see us?
Why don't you say the no?
Why don't you just
No,
call
it has to be pardon
Call
me, but
the roll.
yeah, it has to be
Say
a voice
aye.
vote.
Well, say aye, but I can't. But if everybody's saying aye at the same time, if you have said aye, say aye and hold your hand up.
I was gonna say, or your
It
name.
has to-
I, Beverly.
Has to be a roll call vote.
It doesn't have to be a roll call vote, but it has to be a voice vote. So if you want an individual vote, that has to be roll call.
Well, maybe you can ask if there are any nays first.
Okay, we'll start over. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, just who
All right,
Who are
we
the
have-
no's?
that sounds like two no's. Who are the no's?
Michelle
All right,
Warner.
looks like two no's, so the ayes have it.
So this was no by Michelle and Larry. Who were the no's?
I voted aye.
Oh, who voted no besides Michelle?
Maybe it was Marteza. It was a guy.
Was it Marteza?
He said aye.
I thought I heard a male
I thought I
voice
heard
say
another,
no.
but another.
Well, we don't usually
It
keep
passes anyway.
names.
It doesn't matter.
We don't usually keep names on the vote. We just do
Yeah.
aye and nay and who carried and ayes carried.
So you just say the ayes carry. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Thank y'all if I feel like I've been birthing this baby for about 3 years. Oh, even longer, but you know, a long time. So it's kind of.
Well, everybody review this document that you have privately, not to be shared, and develop your questions for the next time.
Okay. If
Yes,
I
sir.
might say to you that, why don't we set a goal of meeting again in a short interval just to address subchapters B and C and nothing else. And that will help us move this along, because at the rate we're going, if we, you know, and often as we meet, it'll be 2 years before we finish this. Okay.
That's a great idea.
That sounds like a great idea.
And then I just got another comment from Johnny Koch, and I'll read it to you just a second as soon as I can pull it up. Johnny says, there is no opportunity for public comment. This impacts rural hospitals, licensed med techs. Yes, you have an opportunity for comment. You can send your comments right now. And so this impacts the rural hospitals, licensed med techs, LCTCS, and the public. And so while this is far from finished, we have only simply approved subchapter A, and nothing's going to the board until all of the subchapters have been finished. So there's lots of time for people to comment. And it's also, once it goes to the board, if it gets to the board, when it gets to the board, there'll be opportunities for everybody to comment at board meetings, at public hearings that we have to have, at the OLRC twice, and at the people who meet for Senate oversight and House oversight. So I think we got a lot of public comment today. We appreciate all of it. And so for the next time, if y'all want to meet in the short interval, you pick the interval and we'll arrange the meeting. But understand that as soon as the governor's executive order ends, I don't know that we can continue to do it by Zoom. So just think about it that way.
Can I make a comment as well? And maybe I shouldn't, but I would like to know in what way Mr. Koch thinks this is going to adversely affect rural hospitals and the practice.
No, he did not say, and I want to make it clear, he did not say adversely. He said this impacts rural hospitals.
We know that.
Wait, Tommy. Thank him for his comment.
Okay, great.
We don't discuss the public comment.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I have a question, because I think last time we did the cloud documents, when the meeting was over, they were like gone forever. So
Jacinta's going to email.
It is going to go out in an
email the
email?
committee.
Okay.
She's going to email the committee the rules revision suggestion.
And what we're going to do is what we mail out to you will be clearly marked with draft in several places, so that anybody who gives it out and they get it, they'll understand this is a work in progress. It's not a completed document. That's
And
the
so
danger.
maybe it should have draft all over it too.
It's going to have draft all over what we send out in email, because that's why we're doing it this way.
Okay.
All right.
All right, the next item on the agenda is executive session.
All right. So
the live feed will continue, but when we go into executive session, the committee will be moved to a separate room.
that's correct,
So-
Madam Chairman.
Do I have a motion for the committee to go into executive session?
I move that we go into executive session.
That's motion by Michelle. Do we have a second?
Second.
Who's that? Who's
Jessica.
second? What?
Jessica.
Okay. Dr.
please.
Bridges, I think Dr. Bridges spoke first.
Okay.
Isn't that it? Yeah.
So all those in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carried, and we will be going into executive session.
Thanks, you guys. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lex. Appreciate it.
All righty. Now, in executive session, I think we've
Ma'am, you
already.
have to give me a second. I'll let you know when we're no longer streaming.
Okay.